The crew abandoned a perfectly seaworthy ship in the middle of the Atlantic, and nobody knows why. November 1872. The merchant brig Mary Celeste was found drifting off the Azores with her sails set, her cargo intact, her helm unmanned. No bodies, no blood, no sign of struggle. Just an empty ship moving through the water like a phantom, and a crew that had vanished without explanation. I've read the salvage reports myself, the kind of documents that sit in maritime archives, yellowing and precise, and what strikes you isn't the mystery, it's the silence. Let me rewind. The Mary Celeste left New York on November 5th, bound for Genoa with a cargo of industrial alcohol and 10 souls aboard. Captain Benjamin Briggs was a seasoned commander, not reckless, not green. His wife Mary and their 2-year-old daughter Sophia were with him. This wasn't some floating death trap crewed by desperate men. This was a working merchant vessel, professionally run. The kind of ship you'd trust your life to. 10 days into the voyage, something shifted. We know this because of the log. The last entry was dated November 24th, routine notation, nothing alarming. Then the next morning the ship was found by the British brigantine Dei Gratia. Empty, not ransacked, not burning, just abandoned. The lifeboats were gone. The crew's personal effects remained in their berths. The ship's papers were missing. And here's what gets under your skin. The cargo was worth money. Real money. Nobody walks away from salvageable cargo unless they're running from something worse. The official theories came fast. Piracy, mutiny, a leak in the hull, the alcohol cargo fermenting and exploding. Each one crumbles under scrutiny. The hatches were secure. There was no fire damage. The hull was sound when inspected. And piracy in 1872 off the Azores. The shipping lanes were well-traveled, well-patrolled. This wasn't the Barbary coast. This was routine Atlantic traffic. Yet something, some force, some moment of collective terror, convinced 10 experienced sailors to climb into lifeboats and row toward nothing. This is where the philosophy begins. Not in the facts, in the gap between them. Because what we're really looking at is a case study in human panic, the moment when reasonable people make irreversible decisions based on fear, not evidence. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. The Mary Celeste crew didn't die from a sinking ship. They died, if they died, from the terror of anticipating one. Think about what isolation does to the mind. You're at sea for weeks. Land is theoretical. Your only reality is the ship, the crew, and the ocean's indifference. One small problem, a strange noise, a leak that seems to be spreading, a barrel that looks like it's shifting, becomes existential. On land, you'd investigate. You'd call someone, you'd wait. At sea, there's no one but the people around you, and they're as afraid as you are. Fear becomes contagious. Here's what I suspect happened, and I'm not alone in this. The alcohol cargo was stored in wooden barrels. The sea was rough. Barrels shift. In the hold below decks, that shifting probably sounded catastrophic. Maybe one barrel burst. Maybe the fumes were intoxicating, disorienting. Maybe the crew believed, truly believed, that the ship was about to explode or sink. Not because it was, but because the evidence was ambiguous. And ambiguity under pressure becomes certainty. One man panics, then another. Then the captain makes a choice. Captain Briggs orders the lifeboats readied. It's a precaution, he thinks, a safety measure. But the moment the crew sees those boats being lowered, the narrative shifts. If the captain thinks we're in danger, then we're in danger. The crew abandons ship, probably tied to the ship by a rope, thinking they'll climb back aboard once the crisis passes. But the Mary Celeste keeps moving. The rope breaks, or the knot slips, or the current pulls them apart. And suddenly, there's no going back. This is the unseen force. Not a storm or a curse or a mysterious plague. It's the breakdown of rational thought under isolation and uncertainty. The crew didn't die because the ship was sinking. They died because they believed it was sinking, and that belief cascaded into irreversible action. They chose the lifeboat. The ocean chose what came next. The Mary Celeste teaches us something urgent about modern life. We're not at sea, but we're isolated in other ways. Information is fragmentary. Context is missing. Social media amplifies ambiguity into certainty. We panic about problems that don't exist yet, make decisions we can't reverse, and then wonder why we're adrift. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, negative visualization, but they warned against letting it become prediction. The difference is everything. What the Mary Celeste reveals is that the greatest danger at sea and in life isn't the storm you can see. It's the story you tell yourself about the storm you can't. Epictetus said that people aren't disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them. 10 sailors had a ship. They had supplies. They had each other, but they didn't have clarity. And without clarity, they had nothing. The Mary Celeste was eventually recovered, repaired, and sailed again. The ship outlasted everyone who abandoned it. That's not coincidence. It's evidence. The danger wasn't real. The panic was, and panic is something we control or we don't. Every time you feel that pressure rising, that certainty that something's wrong, that you need to act now, remember those lifeboats disappearing into the Atlantic. Remember that the ship was fine. Remember that the crew's fear was the only thing that wasn't. The real mystery of the Mary Celeste isn't what happened to the crew. It's why we keep looking for external explanations when the answer is internal. We want the danger to be real because then the panic makes sense. But most of the time, the danger is in our minds, and that's the one thing we can actually control. The ocean doesn't care about your fear. Neither does life. But you do. And that's where wisdom begins. Subscribe so you don't miss the next case where history reveals the philosophy we've forgotten. The frameworks that separate the people who panic from the people who persist. Subscribe so you don't miss the next case where history reveals the philosophy we've forgotten. The frameworks that separate the people who panic from the people who persist.